Delta Zero of Living Vicariously here, and I come today with a calendar, a jewel case CD calendar based on the history and the progression of video games. Was made for my raster design class in college. It's my first major assignment in that class. I've been working on it for a number of months, and it's finally done. I'm one of the advanced students, so they had me make the full 12-month calendar opposed to just 3. And it's due tomorrow, which is Monday, which is irrelevant because by the time this is uploaded, it will actually already be turned in. Hopefully I get a good grade on this. I will post the dimensions in the comments if you want to make one yourself, but I'll just run through this real quick to show you what I did. This is on cardstock. I actually have some bonus ones right here. I just printed out on this cardstock paper, and yeah, cut it out with the exacto blade and a straight edge ruler over a hard surface, and you get a pretty decent cut out of it. The format of this is every single page I have on this calendar has, you can see in the background, the decade that it's based on. So I tried to make it uniform because it's hard to do uniformity when you go from Pong to like Titanfall. The bottom of the calendar has an image related to, not necessarily the picture on top, but the era I'm talking of. So here you start, as you can see, we start in January with Pong and Space War. I believe it's called Space War, the very first of the first arcade games coin operated. The month has nothing to do with the subject, by the way. In February we have the Odyssey. If you don't know what the Odyssey is, it's the one with they put the overlays over a TV, so the graphics weren't that good. That's actually an overlay that you would put over your television set, and you can see like a little roulette, some kind of casino game I found from that system. Ralph Baer developed the Magnavox Odyssey, considered to be the first home console. And here we have March, the Atari 2600, which is a lot of people who are a little older than I am. This is the one they grew up with. This is like the granddaddy of old school video game consoles, I would say. Mid to late 70s. I see a little Space Invader dude right there. For April, we have Donkey Kong and the arcade, the golden age of the arcade, where you had Pac-Man, Frogger, Donkey Kong, and my personal favorite, Burger Time. This one I like this one a lot actually because even though it looks kind of gray, I had to do that for my printer because my printer couldn't detect the ink for some reason. But you can see the 1980s. We're in the 80s now. In the background, I had to get rid of all the black between the whatever those are, the scaffolding in the game, which is kind of tricky, but. There's that, and a little Galaga spaceship at the bottom there. Here we have May, which one of my more creative ones, and I hated doing this because I love the Intellivision, and I love Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. You can watch my review on that. Vicarious Views number, I think, 16 or 17. So this is no disrespect to these consoles, but this is covering the 1983 video game Crash, which is infamously known for E.T., who is standing on top of the trash mountain since he was buried in a desert. All the old games for E.T. were buried in a desert because they just didn't sell. You can see the 1980s in the background here. And it's kind of funny here. I found an image online because, you know, this is just for a college project, so I didn't have to like clear any images, but I found this image of a bunch of these old Atari games at the bottom there, and I overlaid that over the some stock image of the garbage dump. You can see you got the Vectrex in there, a couple other things. And here's the one a lot of people probably grew up with, the original Nintendo, myself included. 1985, and I put the Nintendo Entertainment System rises from the ashes of the video game Crash. Thought that was a nice little way to put it. Tetris blocks going for the border here, and you have pretty high-res image of Little Mac swinging and missing at Mike Tyson, which is akin to how I play when I face Mike Tyson. I found a pretty cool long image of Metroid. A nice like super widescreen version of it, and then you got the original Zelda and Mario Brothers, and you have a little 8-bit Mario at the bottom right there. Moving on to July, early 90s, one of probably the pinnacles I would say in video game history, the classic war between Sonic the Hedgehog and Mario, and I covered that in the early 90s. I felt that deserved its own little calendar section. I like this one quite a bit because you can see I found this image online of the someone I think on DeviantArt made this for Mario World, or I'm sorry, Super Mario Brothers. And then I found an image of a checkerboard, but I had to color it myself because it wasn't the right color, so I made it look like the brown from Sonic. Mix it together, cut it up a little bit, and you got this nice like lighting effect going on here with the 1990s in the background, which, if you notice, is obscured by clouds too, which I thought was a nice touch for this calendar. At the bottom we got the Mario, mushroom, and the ring, signifying the war between Mario and Sonic, Nintendo and Sega. A lot of people remember that, I'm sure. And this is my personal favorite era of video gaming. This is for August 2014. This is all about the Super Nintendo, which, if you remember the Super Nintendo at all, a lot of staple franchises were basically got new life brought into them. For instance, Mega Man with the Mega Man X series. I tried to include Zero in the top there. Metroid, Super Metroid, just completely changed things forever. You got Kirby from Kirby Superstar, from Demon's Quest. That's actually, I haven't really played much of that game, but I've been playing it a little bit recently, and I love that game. It's kind of a hidden gem. A lot of people don't talk about it. Earthbound, you got the clay figures there. I figured that's a pretty important game. Got to represent the RPGs. And my personal, like, probably top 3 video games. It's in there. Donkey Kong Country 2. I also did a review on that recently. Be sure to watch that because I love that game more than any human should. September, we have a blueprint theme for the 3D era. Another era that I also personally grew up with. I included an image of a TV with Metal Gear Solid 1. I thought it was good for, and I stayed here. It's the 3D era, so it changed the way that games are played and the way stories are told forever. And I think it did, because games like Metal Gear weren't really possible before, the depth of 3D and cutscenes and voice acting and all that. You have Cloud, Tifa, Final Fantasy VII, important game of that era. Knights, Sega Sega Saturn. You got to represent the Saturn here. And I got a little cool little wireframe image of Lara Croft that I changed from black to white, made it transparent. And yeah, I figure that's one of the early staple 3D games is probably Tomb Raider, so I thought to include that. And here you have the Nintendo 64 logo at the bottom there to represent the shift to 3D. And then we jump all the way to 2000, 2001, around roughly that period. Year of the Xbox, also a sad year. This was funny. Sonic the Hedgehog weeping, and then I put I made this little image of the Dreamcast logo with Rest in Peace Sega consoles, 83 to 2001, which is when they ceased production. Yeah, a friend of mine who's over here, she asked me why Sega was crapping on the grave of his maker, and I told her he was crying. And she's like, oh, I didn't see the tissue box at first, so I'll have to explain that in class to make sure people don't think I'm disrespecting Sega's legacy or anything. Xbox logo at the bottom here, Master Chief. This period is pretty important because DVDs were still pretty new, and I remember PS2 really helped push the DVD market, especially in like Japan. So I thought I'd include the old blue, if you remember that, the old blue PS2 discs, which were pretty awesome looking, and a staple game early on in PS2's life, Grand Theft Auto 3. You may have heard that one before. Now we have the 2000s decade in the background there. And here we have November 2014 and the final stretch here. This is where I'm covering the first HD consoles and the Wii. I would have done the Wii separately because I felt that was an important movement in the industry, but I ran out of time and I ran out of space, so my cat's playing with the papers down there. So here it is. You can see I overlaid the 2000s in the actual states this time around. And you have my little me right there. My little me. With a photoshopped image of someone's hand. I couldn't find a clear image, so I had to use a generic hand, and then I just put the Wii remote. I wedged it between their finger and their thumb and their pointer finger. And yeah, you see a Sackboy up there, and just covering online HD and the Wii with the motion controls. And I put a little Shadow of the Colossus. I had to represent Shadow somewhere. Come on, Shadow of the Colossus, the weak point right there. And finally, we are in December, the final month. Obviously, there's no Smarch. 2012 to indefinite, not sure when this era is going to end or anything, but this is covering the modern era with the brand new consoles came out. Wii U 2012, PS3 and Xbox One 2013 and beyond. You have the Titanfall thing there. I'm not very familiar with that game. Pikmin 3, I wanted to represent that. That came out in 2013. The Last of Us Ellie, another game I love that I reviewed. And here you have the upcoming Metal Gear Solid 5, which looks amazing in those graphics if you've seen it in motion, where Snake's riding on the horse. At the bottom here, first I explained that this is basically consoles are becoming more like home entertainment systems. You know, you can do your Netflix and everything on there, and pretty much almost anything digitally you can do on a console now. And then you have the three systems right here: Xbox One, PS4, and then the Wii U. So there you go. That's the only one that has the 2010s decade on the side too. So that's my calendar. Worked on it for about 2 months now or so, and I kind of wrapped it up this past weekend on spring break. Well, I hope you enjoyed it. Again, I'll put the dimensions down, and I'll give you guys hopefully some inspiration if you want to make your own. It's not that hard. Remember, you got to do it. You're doing it lengthwise here to get to sit in the jewel case, not like this, because that's what I did at first, and my dimensions are all screwed up. If you want to sit like this, you have to do it long ways. So, well, thank you for watching. I'm Delta Zero, living vicariously, and well, see you later.